Okay, just before we begin, I know we're running a bit late. Please forgive us. You know, this is how things work out, but we're here now, and there's more to come. So just before we start, for those of you who were yesterday, same procedure. Just open up. I'm pouring libation. If you wasn't here, basically I'm just pouring libation in honor of the universal energy archetypes, giving reverence, thanks to the Creator, the source from which we all came from, the elementals basically. Your elements are your fire, air, water, and earth. So be giving thanks to the elementals, calling on the energies. So while we're calling them, you know, it starts to open up certain faculties and glands and organs within us, so they can now release certain chemicals which will allow us to connect to the, you know, the cosmic force from which we all came from, to become one again. You understand? So just a little ritual. You know, don't get too spooked out by it. So call on the Lord Mary, call on the Creator from which we all came, call on the energy. May it guide us with its wisdom, understanding, overstanding, and outstanding at all times. Ashe. Now, I'm going to be calling on the energies, universal energy archetypes, deities, orishas, angels. If you have any in mind, please feel free to call them out. Maybe the ones that you are close with. You understand? Deities, not ancestors yet. Ancestors come after this one. Deities, we're dealing with deities, the energy, archetypes. Okay? So, let's go. Ogun, Ashe, Shango, Ashe, Yemoja, Ashe, Olokun, Ashe, Aset, Ashe, Eteru, Ashe, Raheru Kuruti, Ashe, Jupiter, Ashe, Mars, Ashe, Agni, Ashe, Shakti, Ashe, Shikta, Ashe. Come on, stop putting them out. Ashe, Ashai, Ashe, Ra, Ashe, Happy, Ashe, Rematop, Ashe, Ashe, Europa, Ashe, Aphrodite, Ashe, Ashe, Murdoch, Ashe, Indo, Ashe, Inky, Ashe. Come, let's go. Ashe, Ashe, Kulu Kulu, Ashe, Abatala, Ashe. Come. Ashe. Ashe. Ashad. Ashe. Seru. Ashe. Yoko. Ashe. Pandora. Ashe. Leviathan. Ashe. Lucifer. Ashe. Satan. Ashe. Come. Let's go. Don't be spooked out by these lists. Don't put it out. Ashe. Anubis. Ashe. Sharon. Ashe. Pluto. Ashe. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. All these planets, come on, stop putting them out, man. Okay, Ashe, Oshuba, Ashe, Oshubari, Ashe, Ashe, Shomo, Ashe. Okay, Ashe. Okay, to all deities known and unknown. Ashe. Okay. Now we're going to be pouring out in honor of the ancestors before them, those who came before us, paved the way. Without them, we won't be here. Chain reaction. Okay, so we make that chain reaction, we make that link. Okay, if you have loved ones who have passed into the ancestral realm, don't be fearful or hesitate, call out their names, okay? C3 Manel, Ashe. Dr. John Henry Clark, Ashe. Ashe. Stephen Biko, Ashe. Lisha Joseph, Ashe. Okaso Gunde, Ashe. Victor Gunde, Ashe. Ashe. Kwame Kuma, Ashe. So John the Truth, Ashe. Malik Al-Shabazz, known as Malcolm X, Ashe, Dr. Martin Luther King, Ashe, Frederick Douglass, Ashe, Sojourner the Truth, Ashe, Nani, Ashe, come, let's go, Ashe, come on, let's go. I know you got more family than that, come on, start pulling them out now, don't be afraid, come on, let's go. Ramesses, Ashe, Elzinga, Ashe, 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 Abubakar, Ashe, Asububakar, Ashe, Hamakabaka, Ashe, Ashe, Di Medici, Ashe, come on, let's go. Anyone else? All ancestors known and unknown. Ashe, all them absolute guidance and records. What's your brother? Ashe, 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 Ashe. Feel free if you wish to get drunk. I spoke on this yesterday. If you weren't here, it's basically just getting the energies going, getting us connected. You see, you may just feel that these names we're calling out of the deities are just there, just fancy stuff, or when you're calling out these names, you have parts of your body which is referred to as organs. Now, you all know that an organ is an instrument that plays what? Music. You understand? So your body has to be in a specific rhythm. So by you calling on these deities, these are tones. So by you letting off different tones, it vibrates, allows the organs to vibrate a specific way, so it releases the secretion. This is where you get the word secret from. The word secret comes from the word secretion, which allows you to release the chemicals, you know, which are coming all from the pineal gland, but all of the glands and organs are all working as one. So you release these chemicals, and it allows you to connect to cosmic force. Okay? So, sorry? Sorry? Yeah, and others, many others, so many others, you understand? You've got glands that are within our system, in our body, that are laying dormant. You understand? We have faculties that they're not working, they've been dead. You understand? So, you know, we have to start, you know, waking them up, remembering, you understand, and connecting back to the real you, the real soul. Because the real you is not this. You understand? It's a projection of that, it's a manifestation of that, but it's not the real you. You've got to get into who the real you is, and that's why we're here today. You understand? Brother's going to be speaking about sex, but just before I bring on the brother, please give a warm, round welcome. Brother, you know, good friend of mine, and he's out there, he's doing the work. Wonderful brother. This guy really opened my eyes up to certain things, especially with, you know, the astrology and other metaphysical aspects as well. So please give a warm round welcome for Brother Clyde.
Greetings, and I say give a warm hand for Brother Israel. He's doing some great work with the astrology, and I love it, you know, I love it. And my name is Clyde. Clyde, it represents a river. I'm full of water, yeah? And I keep that name because it's kind of significant. It's a European name somewhat, but it's also symbolized collide. So I'm always clashing into things, okay? There's an African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a family. And one of the things that, the reason why it takes a village to raise a child, I'm sorry, it takes a village to raise a child, yeah? And one of the things that it takes a village to raise a child because we're very complex. And one of the things we need to, in the village, we try to find ourselves within our people because we're all reflecting each other. But my main thing is to talk about Azzaziel, the brother I met in New York. Because New York was one of my village in terms of my spiritual growth. Because I was born in the Caribbean and I went to New York at age 19, 1986 actually, at age 19. But one of the things that intrigued me about New York is the black consciousness. Because I was all into the Christian religion, and from the standpoint of how we've been taught religiously not to understand the spiritual side of it. Because you know the scripture says some of us, we have a sign of godliness, but we're actually spiritually weak. You understand? And that's what the prototype of who we are as a people, because a lot of the things that we are taught religiously has really bring us down and locked us into a consciousness that is not of our spiritual power, open up to our spiritual power. Because most of the things that associate to our spiritual power, we're not taught to get involved with. And one of the things is herbs. Most of us are not into herbs. When is the last time you take some herbal remedy? Not when you're sick, just taking herbs.
This morning,
you're a good brother. It's very important. I see people drinking all kind of, you know, pink, blue, green soda that Peter Tosh talk about. Peter Tosh talk about it, and man, don't drink all of those things. Get into your herbs. All you have to do, think about it. Water is like 1 pound. Take a herb and you soak it overnight. You don't have to boil it, and you can take that to work with you. No sugar. And you could take, and it depends on what, even if you have an ailment or you don't have an ailment, there's herb for psychic powers, there's herb for brain powers, there's herb for sexual powers, as we're going to talk about sexuality. Anybody, brothers, you be taking ginseng? Brothers, you be taking your ginseng? Oh no, it doesn't sound too good. Brothers, we're going to have healthy children now as African people. You've got to take your ginseng. Sisters, you got to take your ginseng too. And that's why, which is female ginseng. Because one of the things they said about ginseng is that the women that take ginseng could have child even up to 80 years old. You don't believe that because I say all truth is half truth, validation is the other half. Remember this, all truth is half truth, validation is the other half. So everything you hear, you validate it by testing. Okay? But it's important that we have healthy children. When we talk about sexual magic, I know everybody kind of spook out. What is this sexual magic? It's all that negative stuff that you see in the press. No, it's not. But yet it is sexual magic because if you're buying a car, first thing they sell you is the woman first. And you like the woman, you like the car. Every advertisement is with a woman, isn't it? Because they're bringing the whole sexuality involved. But everything is about sex. If you're doing plumbing work, it's male and female. You're doing carpentry, it's male and female. You're doing electrical, it's male and female. You're doing painting, it's male and female. Why not? You got to put the undercoat. Anyway, I have 10 minutes, isn't it? Respect. I have 10 minutes, so not much I can say in terms of 10 minutes, but I would say taking what the brother have to say in terms of sexual magic, because the power of sex is the power of creativity. You create or procreate, okay? And most of the time, the system is set up in a certain way to drain our sexual fluid and to use it for their own advancement. But your sexual fluid is the Christ energy within you. The Bible says Christ in you, the hope of glory. But the Christ that we're talking about is your sexual fluid. If you study properly, you will see the sexual fluid. It's also the solar energy. It's also your soul power. Okay? So it's important to understand, but we get caught up in language and not understand in the details between the language. That's why the Bible tells you the letter kills, but the spirit gives life. Now what does that mean? Because most people pass that up and don't understand. The letter kills because the letter is just the form. The letter is the outer body. But the meaning of the letter is what gives life. The spirit of it is the meaning. So find out what things mean when it comes on to different words. Get into etymology. Get into the deeper things. And that's what spirituality is. That's what metaphysics is. It's to look beyond the physical. Okay? When I left New York, how much time did I get? When I left New York, when I left New York, there's one thing that I wish that I could get to do is to do more research on the Montauk project. Okay? In terms of going to Montauk, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Montauk situation.
Yeah.
Yeah? Everybody? Not much, yeah? Very important information to sort out. Because we talk about something that they do more gruesome than World War, than Hitler's operation. Okay? And a lot of that stuff is not made the light of day for most people, because some of it is seems like very unbelievable. Some of the experiment that goes on, because they're trying to tap into our consciousness. Okay? And that's something is important to research, because that's the new technology. That's the new technology that they're doing, because they're trying to make a whole robot creation. They're trying to make us all into robots. But they're not going to succeed because we have our inner power that will sustain us. So I said tonight, give it up for Brother Azariah as he comes to grace the stage and give us a sexual magic.
It's really, well, I got a lot of writing to do, so I'm not going to hold the mic, and I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me. I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, good. It's still amazing that this brother, when I seen him on the tape and flew over here and this brother's here, it's just amazing to see this brother here and knowing him for so long a time. And it's just amazing how life is and how synchronicities are. So give him another round of applause. Thank you, brother. A round of applause for the hard-working brother Israel, who took his time out to do the radio show and drive me around to the bookstores. I had to hit those bookstores. And I want to hit some of them jazz shops too, brother. So the brother took his time out and he's working hard, and just give him a big hand. Thank you. Brother Darren, Very good, Brother Darren. Yeah. Mr. Rosanna in the back. Hit him up. Hit him up real good with the claps. Do me a favor, get on your feet. Let's just make some noise. Let's get the energy flowing. You know, when I was sitting here and I was looking, it was so quiet and kind of like, felt like, you know, I said, I know this ain't zombies. There's a science, but there's a science to zombieism. They're not, why are they giving you so many movies dealing with zombies? You see a lot of zombie movies, 28 Days, Dawn of the Dead, this dead, that dead, and then you have all the internet stuff and all the DVDs on zombies. And what's very interesting is that if you really do some research on chemical manipulation, because there's chemical mind control also, they're attacking you on every frequency that they can as they study you. You know, when they put black folks in prisons and when you go to hospitals, they're studying you because they already know they don't have the medicine to heal you with. You're not the same species as them, as I said before. So monitor certain things you take into your body like water, because the brain is surrounded in water. Okay? Your brain floats in water, connected to the reptilian brain all the way down the spine. And your body is what? 70%, 80%, maybe 90% water. So you want to monitor the types of things you ingest into your body. Yes, we have a certain consciousness about ourselves that we can manipulate certain elements within the body, but be aware of certain things that are going on. The water, you hear a lot of talk about buying, have you ever heard about buying distilled water? Yeah. They're always telling you to buy distilled water. You know, don't drink the spring water, don't drink the tap water. In New York, actually, the tap water is the best water to drink, except they have now started putting Prozac in the water. And Prozac is to get you, prepare you for whatever mind control they're projecting through their televisions and TV screens. And mind control basically works through your sexuality. They open up your root chakra. That's where they go in, because that's the thing you want the most. So they tap into the thing you want the most and put ideas in there. And those ideas you begin to want the most. And the ideas are ideas that they have that they want you to have. If you don't think for yourself, somebody will do it for you. So stay away from distilled water.
Is that a bottle one?
Excuse me, sir?
Is that the ones in the bottle? Glass bottle?
Well, it's the reason why I'm saying this, I don't know if you have distilled water here, or if people know about that, but these tapes go around the world, so I'm not just speaking to you per se. I'm not pointing a finger at you or any place where I'm talking to everyone that will get this information. Okay? So distilled water, which we hear is very good, but what I found out is that what they're doing is taking every element out of the distilled water and putting in entities. They're putting in electromagnetic frequencies that are very low, extremely low frequencies, right where your genital root chakra area is, right where demons enter. So they're invoking entities into the distilled water. And that's why the big push is by these GNCs and these health food stores to get you to, don't drink the spring water. Meanwhile, you've been drinking water from springs and rivers since you've been on the planet. And that's taking you out of nature. And then, of course, the plastic bottles is another story. I challenge you to do your own research on this subject. Now, we can't be perfect in a world that we live in because we've succumbed to a society where we have to go, we don't no longer, you know, it's natural to go to the supermarket rather than nature. And so this is what has been taking place as far as mind control. Stay away from distilled water. Get you some spring water. Or get you some type of system where you can clean your water. Because remember, what I said about the brain is surrounded in water. Understand that? So they're putting in demonic entities electronically because they can manipulate demons through electronics. They'll like it, they love it. They open up your root chakra, your kundalini prematurely rises. And when that rises, as I said before, your crown chakra lights up like you light a candle. And the demons view that and they go, wow, look at that, let's go, let's travel around, let's hang out over here. And they come in through the root chakra and they go into your mind. And certain thoughts you may have, you think they were your thoughts and they be the thoughts of someone else or something else created by some negative thoughts of somebody else. The demons basically live on, before we go into the sex magic, I have to explain a few things. Demons basically live in the landmass where the people live for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. So what they do is, they know what land masses that rituals, so-called satanic rituals, if you read your Bible, the Bible's supposed to be what, 5,000 years old, whatever? And you see all these different rituals all throughout the Bible. Cut the lamb in half, and we're going to go through some of these rituals. They're right in the Bible. Sexual programming is right in the Bible. We're going to look at some of that. So, over a period of time, say 1,000,000 years, they will look at the grids, because we, as Africans, or for lack of a better term, Moors, Lemurians, or whatever, all the names that you can imagine are ours. There are no European names. Every name that you have, that we have, is ours. There are no London names, there are no Russian, all the names come from you. Because they don't know how to talk, they don't know how to speak. You have to teach them how to speak. They grunted. The books are back there on the table. So the sister got one on it. John G. Jackson, J.A. Rogers, all of them told you that. So the name change thing, only do it if it's an energy that you need to tap into. For instance, my name is Azzaziel. My real name is Gregory. I found out that Azzaziel is an ancient name of Gregory. So it's the same thing. So these are all our names. All of this is our stuff. So demons can be millions and millions of years old in that particular landmass where certain satanic rituals, so-called satanic rituals, take place. Now, when we did sex magic was to control either the weather or to have something go on in nature that would produce something that was positive for you. Because your thoughts, in actuality, create, if you go and you have sex, and by the way, feel free to either interject or ask questions. I want to, almost like we want to work our way into this workshop thing. I want you to feel comfortable about this, because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it with our children. We don't even talk about it with ourselves. It's sort of a taboo. Because there are things going on, the white boy don't give a shit. He's a reptilian. He's going to use it to his advantage. He knows what you like and what you need. So in sex magic, I'm pretty sure you've read in many of the books how sex magic can actually produce the things you want on the physical reality. Everybody understand that concept? Okay. Me and the brother Israel were talking the other day about masturbation. What's the first word in that what's the first prefix in that whole word? Master. Master. Understand that. And what happens, especially for people who, and this is why this needs to be taught to our upcoming soldiers, that when you have sex, you focus on a particular thing. Don't just do things haphazardly. Just don't have sex because it's enjoyable. It's a creative force. It creates that child that represents your genetics. So you want to focus on a particular thing. Say, for instance, if we all left here tonight, and at a particular time period, we all had sex with our queen, our husband, or whatever, and project the same thought, all of us here. How powerful will that be? We will create something that will manifest from the spirit realm into the physical. You're taking spiritual information from the right brain, amplifying it through the pineal gland, which is right above, right at the bridge of the nose, in the center of the brain, and pull it into physical reality, which is the left brain, logical. Females represent the logical side of your brain. The male represents the spiritual side of the brain. Females represent the negative aspect. Male represent the positive aspect. We're talking about negative as in magnetism. We're not talking about that as bad. We're talking about as magnetic. Women are magnetic. They pull in the semen that's going to create the child. And they are that transformer that takes those thoughts. Because your thoughts, where does the brain fluid come? Why is it called brain fluid? That's where your thoughts are, isn't it? And then the semen just said, well, I'm going to hang out with these thoughts. And here comes the ejaculation into the female. And whatever thought you had at that time, recognize that's what the child is going to have in him. And females, I recommend that you do not have many lovers at one particular time, all the time. Different men, you're jumping around to different men. Because your thoughts become scattered and thin. And when you have, if a man ejaculates within your vagina, and you have many lovers, they leave behind a germ. And you may find the right person for you in the future. And that person will become your husband and he has a child, but it could look like one of your past boyfriends. Because that germ is still there. So you got to understand how we lived sexually in Africa. Or in, actually, this Europe here is connected to Africa, was also connected to America. And of course we know that Atlantis was that whole strip of the middle all around. So it was one landmass at one time. One landmass. Atlanta, yes.
Sorry, so what you're saying that they're trying to our DNA. So if a black person would have sex with a white person, or a white female, so to say, and she would take that energy into her. When a white male goes and has sex with her, somehow that energy will be transferred into her child.
It's a good possibility. J. Rogers wrote in his book, Sex and Race, that this white couple was having, this is how powerful sex is. A white couple were having sex, and in the room was a black statue, and the damn baby came out black. And so the husband thought she was cheating on him with a Moor. J. Rogers. I think it's the first volume out of the 3-volume set. Okay? So you want to monitor your thoughts, because we all do it. So we can't, why are we being so ashamed of it and afraid to talk about this stuff with our children when that's how you got here, and that's what life is all about, really. The creative force, the creative act. That's what a triangle is. When you see a pyramid, that's what the pyramids of Giza are. It's a creative force being projected up. And of course, the pyramids have a underground pyramid also, it's a tetrahedron. So what is projected up is also manifest down back at you. What you projected to the female is projected back at you. Your own mirror is coming out of her. The same concept. So demons are entities that are over a period of time, when people, if we all lived in this area here, and over a period of time we start to die off as time goes on, you're buried in that ground, and your genetics become mixed with the earth elements. And that is called, and that creates what's known as a morphogenetic grid, where those energies can be channeled. And that's why we have maps all over the world and grid lines. Because the Moors mapped this all out, and they knew exactly where to be, what to do, what was where, and everything all about this whole planet. And that they found out about that in Egypt, in Mexico, and all over the planet, really. So that's why when you say, for instance, you buy a house, you got to make sure that house is vibrating on the frequency, or have the right. You should do the whole background check on that shit, because you could be in a place that's not your vibration. something, a demon could enter into your pineal gland, because that's where you get haunted from. You don't get haunted from out there, you get haunted from within. And they follow you around, and they attach to your auric field. And these are demons that they use in mind control and programming, and they open up your sexuality and bring these demons into you and use you and the thoughts of the demons to project out what they want to be done. Now, you have something, well, let me do this first. Let me do this first. Let me go back to the water. What water do you drink? Okay? Basically, you want to drink anything that's over a 7. Everybody know what the pH and the acidic levels are, right? You want to drink anything that's, acid ages you. Turns you, what does acid do? You put your hand in a bowl of acid. What is that going to do? Tear your ass up. It's going to age you. Now, if you go too far to the pH level, it'll have the same effect. But basically, melanated people are more alkaline. And Dr. Sabi goes through a whole science of that. That's green food, like Clyde, the brother Clyde was just talking about, with the herbs. There are various types of herbs you should be eating, various types of green food. We are green people. We were originally green and became brown later. And before we were green, we were actually clear. But that's a whole nother lecture. So here is a, you can see, here's a list of the different types of water. Is that clear? And I don't know if any of the water from London is here, but here's a whole bunch of them. Smart water. Anybody know what smart water is? No. They don't have that over here. Appalachian water? Poland Springs? No. Crystal Springs? No. Dannon? Pure American water? All these water. Now you want to get water that's from this point on, from 7 to 10. The higher the number, the better the water. All right? Also, make sure you read. I mean, come on now. We can't just be walking around doing things haphazardly. Just walk in a store and buy some kind of water. They have these vitamin waters now, full of sugar, full of red dye. Do they have that over here? Yes. What do you think that does to your sexuality? What do you think their whole focal point in the foods are about? To produce, either to stop you from producing or produce the type of child they want you to have. That's what the science is behind that. So monitor what you're eating. One of the most potent things that I found out that a man could take to keep his erection strong, especially in the morning, because that's when your erection is the strongest, you rise with the sun, Horus. Horus rising. Is pumpkin seed oil. Take you a tablespoon of pumpkin seed oil every morning. Or if you like, eat raw pumpkin seeds. Very powerful for male sexual energy.
Very true.
So I recommend. So most of the water that you see here, I don't know if you have a lot of this water here, but a lot of it has from the 7 to 10 is the water you want to be drinking. And a lot of it you can't even get no more. Some of it is made by Coca-Cola and Nestle. So understand that. All right. Let's look at a few things. Yeah. Yes, you could use it. They have the strips. Yeah. Yeah. You could use the strips. They have these strips where you can test your water, and I think it turns purple. Also, I'm sure you know about this. You can transfer your water immediately when you get it home into a glass jar, because the plastic, of course, is poisonous. But you can put it in a glass jar and put a clear quartz or an amethyst in the jar, and that will help cleanse the water, or will cleanse the water, actually, especially the amethyst.
Is that crystal?
Crystals, yeah. Amethyst and clear quartz. And you can even use a rose quartz. And of course, it was the Chinese guy who broke down the whole science of putting symbols on the jar, writing on the jar. You can do all that too. But make sure, and put a lemon. If you're going to drink tap water, or if you're going to drink water from the stores that's on this list that has a low pH, it's an acidic water, you put a lemon in the water. Lemon is acidic, but when it hits the water, it turns alkaline. And you drink the lemon in the morning. Only eat fruits. Matter of fact, the first thing you should do in the morning is eat a piece of fruit. It's symbolic of you having a fruitful day. You know, you don't want to get up and get a bagel and a coffee. The first thing in your body should be a piece of fruit. That will set the tone for the rest of your day. Yeah.
What about the herbs?
Herbs are good. There are various herbs for different things. You probably have to talk to the brother. He's an herbalist. And then, as well as an astrologer. He will break that all down for you. But I would use fruit first. Fruit, because you're dealing with the archetype. Remember what I talked about yesterday. Archetypes mean it's all your subconscious information. Nature will teach you if you listen to it.
So it's all right then?
Excuse me? What kind of water?
Warm water.
Well, you're supposed to drink warm water. You're not supposed to be cold in the morning. Warm water. Yeah. Yeah, warm water, but fruit in the morning will set the tone archetypically for you. I mean, try it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It'll change the whole attitude of your day, symbolically. And when you eat fruit, notice the color of the sun, and eat the color of the sun. If the sun is yellow, eat yellow fruits. If the sun is orange, eat orange fruits. The darker the sun is during the day, it gets toward the evening, eat the darker fruits. Follow nature. Got to get back there. It will teach you. All right? Sex. Can y'all see this board? It's not going to slide back.
He's right. We just turn the board more towards the camera. Straight. Yeah.
All right. The word sex. What does sex mean? Anybody have an idea what sex might mean? Six? Is that what it means to you? I want you to think in terms of nature. Mother Nature. Because that is really God, really. God is Mother Nature. Very good, sister. Very good. I want to hear some more ideas about what you think sex is. Nobody... Procreation. Yes, very good. Very good. We still have those three letters, right? Remember we talked about, anybody seen a lecture that I did when we talked about the triangle?
Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. You have the male, female, and that, but male and female psychically connecting produces the child, right? Sex, three-letter word, right? Number 3 has a vibration. Everything has a vibration. Actually, numbers were made so that you could measure vibrations. S is dealing with what? The Kundalini. That's Kundalini activation. That's the root chakra. Kundalini energy, what? Expanding. Expanding. So sexual energy is a way of expanding consciousness. Wilhelm Reich, anybody ever heard of Wilhelm Reich?
Yeah.
Who was dealing with something called orgone energy. Orgone energy is what? Orgasmic energy. He understood that all sickness on the planet was based on DOR, deadly orgone radiation, meaning that throughout your life you take on issues and you clog up certain parts of your body. They get stagnant. It creates a blockage. Everyone understand that? And when that blockage is created, that becomes DOR, or some type of sickness in the body. Say for instance, I go out and I have lower back pains or upper back pains. That illness, those thoughts, those negative things, that trauma that took place in my life sink down to the subconscious mind, and now I don't have any support in my life. The people around me are not supporting me, and I'm not supporting myself. That's your lower back. So DOR contribute to those stagnated energies in the body based on the thoughts that you attract to it. So they know that if they oppress a certain amount of energy onto you as a people, that the thoughts that you have will produce a DOR cloud. Right. And that DOR, demons are attracted to it. If you live in a big city area, you live amongst millions, and you have to cleanse every day. You have to protect yourself every day. Because demons are all over major cities. And they're waiting for a chance to step in. You go to work tomorrow morning, and all of a sudden somebody pulls you off your center. Somebody makes you mad, and you snap and you start arguing. And start fighting and fussing with them. You open up, you move off your center, you become out of balance. And that's when demonic entities are trying to enter into you. And many of the thoughts and the things you may have may not even be your own. And later you got to go back, oh, I'm sorry, man, I didn't mean this, because it wasn't you. You see? So, you are the embodiment of the energy of sexuality. You are the actual production of a sexual act. That's how powerful sex is. All right? Let's go through a few more things here. Any questions so far?
Yeah. How does it relate if the child is by artificial insemination?
Well, the reason for artificial assimilation is that how it got started is that what they wanted to do is use people who are generationally programmed with demons. Because you have people that are generationally programmed and demons are put into their bodies. And so what they'll do is, it's not necessarily the sperm of another person, it's the sperm of one of the lovers that she may have had, and they awaken that germ, and that germ, so it's called a virgin birth. They'll awaken a germ that she had sex with a certain person, if it's the man who has the problem. Because sometimes the female don't have enough ovaries. And by the way, sisters, on the radio we were talking today about polygamy. You have to understand that after you get to a certain age, you stop producing ovaries or eggs. They start to double up as you get older, and you're more prone to have twins in your 40s and 50s. But men will continue to produce semen to have children long after you cannot produce eggs to have children. We're talking about nature here. We're not talking about egos. We're not talking about what I think or what anybody else thinks. This is a part of nature. Of course, we live in a time now where certain situations take place. And of course, and I understand you females that you feel threatened, your security feels threatened. So yes, you need to find the right person that you can be with, and there are ways to do that, which we're going to talk about today. All right? I don't know if men have the same problem here in London, but they do in New York. I don't know.
It's the same. It's a global thing, right?
Okay. Males, basically, are 60% male and 40% female. Of course, females are 60% male and 40%. Sorry about that.
some funny looks. I see some funny looks. Yeah. All right? So, we are all bisexual by nature. Now, when I talk about bisexual, I'm talking about you are androgynous beings. Androgyny is the difference between androgyny and hermaphroditism. And androgyny is a person who has the spirit or the sexual energy within. You are male and female within. That's why you have a left and right brain. Actually, you only have one brain, but it is connected through the pineal gland. So we'll say, for the sake of discussing this topic here, that you have a left and right brain, but it's in actuality one brain. You only have one mind, but we break it down so you can understand what's going on into the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious mind. But you really only have one, which is symbolic of that God force that fractures itself off to create different realities. So you are male and female. And the balance is, a man should always be in balance with himself, 40% female and 60% male. Too much estrogen will cause something like this. And that's what they're putting in a lot of the food you see today. Estrogen and testosterone into a lot of the food, and they're pushing hermaphroditism, not androgyny, because androgyny is dealing with the right brain, the spiritual, and it takes place within. They're trying to bring into physical reality people who are hermaphrodites. And what's happening is mutations, homosexuality. We explained yesterday what homosexuality could be when you're dealing with the God mind. In physical reality, there's trauma, there are chemicals that take place that could cause this. And you've seen a lot of it in the rap world. And you know, when I talk to some of the, because I know a few of the rappers that got albums out and all like that, and they break it down for me. And I can't believe what I be hearing. Jay-Z homo, this one homo, that one, you know, get a lot of gay stuff going on. And I understand to get into those areas in Hollywood that you have to do certain things, because a white boy came by me one time and he showed me pictures of Mary J. Blige with all these guys, a white man, he showed me homo acts by Biggie Smalls, photographs. I couldn't believe it. So it's a lot of it going on, and it's prevalent, and it's being induced through your television set, through electronics, through your sexuality. All right? So you could be out of balance, and what do you do to change that? What do you do to change that? All right? So before the zygote is produced, you are androgynous in the womb. You have both sexes within, and then later on, maybe 6 months later, you decide whether you're going to be a male or female. Jules Pookrum said that you're always female first. I beg to differ. I say you're androgynous first.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Could you have to consider the chromosome? It's an XY chromosome.
Right. We're going to get into that. Right. The chromosome, when you see someone who, first of all, a person who is homosexual, we're talking outside of the Illuminati tactics, which is promoting through mind control and sexual trauma. Because some people, this happens to them because of the way they were raised. Abused children. And guess what? How many of you know that more male children are abused by women than female childs by men, statistically? Did y'all know that? So many children are being abused today. I mean, my daughter is a psychologist, and she works for a company called ACS, and she go check on calls for different children who are being abused. And she's ready to get out of that job because she gets called 5 or 6 calls a day. And she tells me about this, she tells me all the things that she sees that's going on. It's incredible. All right? So it could take place through sexual trauma, which this is what the Aleister Crowley, when he wrote the book Moonchild, They were traumatizing children, preparing them to be sex slaves. And this is what you get into a lot of the porn movies now. These people were taken as children. People don't just say, oh, I want to be a porn star and get on a videotape and start doing it on video. And then what they do is they open up your root chakra and you don't know what messages are coming through there. And you're sexually stimulated. So be aware of that. Your awareness of it stops the programming. Your awareness of it. So Crawley wrote a book called Moonchild. And he's not the only one. The biggest sexual programmer was a guy named Mengele. Charles Mengele. He programmed children, he programmed twins, he was known as Dr. Green. Tortured children sexually. It's well documented. That's what the whole thing with the Nazis killing the Jews, they had nothing to do with Jews because they're both the same people.
Is that the MK Ultra?
MK Ultra came a little bit later on. But Crawley was programming children over here in England at a place called Land's End. Where is this? Is that close to here? No? Where is that? It's far from here? Land's End. Yeah, brother. Thank you.
Most places in London is actually 3 hours. The farthest is really 3 hours, so compared to America, it's not far really.
Okay. He was programming children at Land's End in a small villa called the Butterfly Net. And that's where you get the actual term monarch butterfly programming. Anybody ever heard of that? Or the monarch program. Monarch program is a mind control program that the British and the American government and the Russian and the Chinese use to program sex slave presidential models. Like Anna Nicole. Like, what's the other one that with Anton LaVey, Kennedy's girlfriend? Marilyn Monroe. These are all mind control sex slaves. And they don't just take children from anywhere and do this. These people have to have those generational demons within them as a ritual. That's why they keep bloodlines. That's why you hear Illuminati bloodline. It's a bloodline thing. And everybody in the Illuminati is under mind control. Now I know that's some crazy shit. You're dealing with people that you're marching and you're trying to get things done and stop doing this and stop beating on this guy, the police beating on him. These people are programmed by generational spirits. And so your tactics have to change. They fight physically, you need to fight spiritually because that's where you are. That's where your energy is. I talked about the violet flame. Begin to use it. How many of y'all use the violet flame? I got the charts here. Begin to use the violet flame. The violet flame is a cleansing, it's the crown chakra energy. You have a crown chakra, and if you get one of the, I think hyperspace, I'll break down what the crown chakra does. It actually blocks unwanted thoughts, keeps the demonic entities out. But this is the violet flame chart, and on the back is the violet flame ritual. This right here is the violet flame visualization to get rid of negative energy. I also have what I couldn't bring with me on the plane because I wanted the plane to stay in the air while I was on it, was orgone pyramids. Orgone pyramids. So you can either order them from me, get in contact with the brothers there, and I can mail them to you, and you can email me. But you want to get an orgone pyramid so it can unblock all that negative energy you may have around you. And anyone can testify to it. My sister, my queen, had one in her job. The whole damn floor was gone. They moved everybody on the floor. How many people left there now? 3. And now they got to move. So I told them, take the orgone to the next place where you're going. It will cleanse out negative energy. It pulls in the negative energy through the pyramid. It shoots out POR, which is positive orgone radiation.
Can you describe it for me?
It's a pyramid shape, and you use certain elements. Wilhelm Reich was the man who stole information out of Egypt. He produced an orgone generator in the form of a box. I took it back to Egypt and put it in the form of a pyramid. Orgone is basically made of inorganic and organic materials. When you merge the two together, it produces this particular substance. You put the crystals, they have crystals in it, and amethyst, which cleanses the orgone as it passes through the device. And the ones that, and iron also. Iron is a very powerful because it has an affinity to your blood. So you use iron with that and you merge them together and that will produce this particular, and what I use meteorite iron. I don't use earthly iron, I use meteorite iron. Because the iron needs to be galvanized so the orgone can bounce off the iron and shoot out in different directions. All right, so if you email me, I'll email you all the documents back and you can order them through me. The pyramids are about 6 inches high and 6 inches wide, 6 by 6 by 6. And those are $150. The ones with the meteorites in it are $200.
U.S.
U.S., right. Yeah.
Oh, we can get it from your site.
Yes, not my site, but in my email. My site won't be up for about another 2 weeks. Okay? Orgone generators. Go, when you get home, go online and do your own research about it. Don't take nobody's word for nothing these days.
Open generators.
Yes.
What's your email?
My email is so, what happens, they take these particular demons and begin to promote through your foods, through electronics, pushing this hermaphroditism, because we're returning back to this androgynous state anyway. But now on a spiritual level, as I said before, the energy we call God projects out different energies to view different things. Like I said, 100,000 species of flowers, and so on and so on. So the people that stole all our knowledge understood this. They understood this, and we're talking about people like Aleister Crowley and Mengele, and others that we're going to talk about in a minute. And they understood that you could actually fracture the mind into a 13 by 13 matrix the same way that the energy that we call God fractures himself out to view himself. So they know how to traumatize a person, as we go back to Willie Lynch once again, through slavery. They know how to traumatize you to split off parts of your brain into different alters. Yeah. Buddhism, or what we call the Tibetan monks, we're going to get into that later on, but you see them now over in, everybody the Chinese are attacking them. They're marching, say leave them alone. Is that being played out over here?
Yeah.
Why? Because the Buddhist monks and the Tibetan monks taught the Illuminati these techniques. And the Chinese government don't like it. Just like Beijing. Remember in Beijing, they had a fucking Statue of Liberty coming down fucking China? Get the fuck out of here. Are you crazy? As fucked up as America is, the shit they be doing, they don't want nobody to have nuclear weapons except them. Have nuclear weapons except them. So the Tibetan monks, say for instance, me and the brother were talking the other day, there's certain techniques that they've taught like Tantra and Om, and I recommend that all those techniques may be good for them or good for the European, but I suggest for black folks it's nature. Practice Tantra, yes, but as something that's going to stimulate you to get you to that point of ejaculation. But in the end, make sure you have that orgasmic release, male and female, some kind of way. Because the energy becomes blocked. The organ becomes blocked. And monitor your thoughts.
How do you make the distinction between knowing whether you're being influenced by demonic beings or if you're being influenced by your ancestors? Because I know my blood is mixed and how do you make that distinction?
How do you know if you're being what?
Influenced by demonic beings or your ancestors?
Well, don't get me wrong when I say demon. That doesn't necessarily mean negative. It doesn't necessarily mean negative. All right? But I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
You know when your ancestors contact you because they're in your genetics, they're in your DNA. All right? Your ancestors are in your DNA. Say, for instance, you here now, you have a child. Your child have a grandchild. You pass away. Guess what? The child he have is you. Because they're magnetized to you because you have the thoughts that they need to come through your genetics. Everything is thought, Tahuti. All right? So the demons, they live in the morphogenetic grids in the earth. The ancestors live in your DNA. They understood that the God mind, which we talked about, do everyone understand when I talked about how God splits his mind off to view himself? If I'm God standing here, I made all of you so I can view different aspects of myself. I made thousands of species of horses, hundreds of species of horses, hundreds of birds, to experience what a bird is like. What is a bird? I have birds that can't fly. I have birds that fly. I have birds that can swim underwater. Because I want to experience these things to learn about myself. And eventually bring all that information back to me. Everyone understand that? The same thing happens in programming and mind control. When Aleister Crowley takes those children and hold them underwater until they're almost dead and revive them, a trauma takes place. That makes one compartment. And they do this till they get to 2,197 compartments, 13 by 13 matrix. They fracture the child's mind. And in there, they'll put in all these alters and blockers. They'll put in sexual programming here, or Barbie doll. Before we came to America and England, we didn't know what straightening hair was. We didn't know what lipstick, in the sense that white people use it. Yes, the Egyptians used lipstick, but they also used it in the sense that they painted their teeth black, not their lips. So you'll see people wear a lot of makeup and things like that. Where did that come from? That's general programming. It's known as Barbie doll programming. And that's where, let me show the slide on that. Now, Barbie doll programming comes out of the Monarch program, which was, again, going back to the butterfly net at Land's End. By the way, which connected up to Montauk Point. Land's End is a grid from Land's End hitting directly onto the point of Montauk, Long Island, where Aleister Crowley was practicing. We actually went there to Montauk in, I think, 1900s to teach the Illuminati programmers, along with Manly P. Hall. And Manly P. Hall taught the Illuminati programmers how to astral travel, how to leave the body and go kill somebody. And they also taught the Illuminati programmers hypnotism, Manly P. Hall and Aleister Crowley. So this grid connected from Land's End, England to Montauk, Long Island. And if you go and do some research, you'll find out that on that grid, you had Flight 77 and all these different planes, Kennedy, all these plane crashes right on that grid. Understand that? So that's the type of energy going on that's being projected out. Montauk was a major thing in history, as the brother Clyde had mentioned. So monarch programming, and I put it in these particular squares to show you how the fracturing takes place. Now, growing up, we always looked at Barbie as a toy. These shit things cost like $500 and $600 now. This shit is a fucking occult thing going on here. The Barbie doll. And these are different aspects of the programming. See that? These dolls are going for up to what? I think the highest one is like $1,500. And they use the dolls in the programming to program children with. And that's what many of our toys are. The origin of the doll, you got Ken, and always watch your colors. Many of the colors are triggers. Like if you're driving down a car and you see a red light, physically, yeah, that means go. But if you're dealing with the spirit world, red means to go and not to stop. It means stop when you're driving physically on the road. But it means to go when you're dealing with the spirit. So if I'm going to go to war, say, for instance, I'm in the middle of a fucking riot or some shit on the street, make sure your ass ain't wearing no red. Because that is going to trigger those police officers who had to have a certain programming in them. Generationally. That's why they're chosen when they fill out that application, that social security number, those numbers that they have, they're chosen based on the generational spirits. Barbie started out as an X-rated puppet in a German pub. And later became a small prop doll on the counter at the bar. The person who originated it was a Nazi named Klaus Barbie. Klaus Barbie, who was sexually abused himself generationally. See, I'm telling you, that's all they deal with is the generational spirits. They know who you are on the generational level. That's why you got to fill out so much information on those applications. I'll be falsifying the hell out of shit. When next time you go for a job and it says, read it. I don't know what it says over here. But in America, when it says African, when it says white, it says of African descent. And under black, it says of Negro stock. So every box on there that has a race on it, you have all of that, except for maybe Negro stock. Negro stock is a fucking slave. See, but we're afraid of that. We have a lot of fear based in us. We've been traumatized, and that fear is stuck in that reptilian brain. So Klaus Barbie, who was one of the worst Nazis in history, along with Mengele, created these particular Barbie dolls that was taken from Germany and put into America and given to your child. We're talking about monarch programming, sexual programming. That's what we're talking about. Everybody with me here? Yeah. All right? Who said no? Somebody said no. There's some more Barbie dolls, going more into the occult realm. I mean, she got dolls as magicians, as cheerleaders, So what we're talking about here, these are the different altars that a person that has Barbie doll or Monarch programming may have in their matrix. And the thing is that if you try to tap into that to help them, demons come up. Just like if you go talk to a Christian, and you tell a Christian, no, that's not the way, you can't do this, a demon comes up and blocks you out. So demons are put in. Now you have general programming and you have specific programming. The specific programming, they actually take you in and torture you, or they have done that, especially with the blonde, blue-eyed children, because there's an enzyme that they have in them that makes them more susceptible to mind control. And that's why you see the presidential models are always blonde and blue eyes. And that's symbolic of reptilian. That's their Christ. Their Jesus is a blonde, blue-eyed Jesus, or a dragon. A blonde, or when you see a white dragon, and the white dragon has gold hair and the blue eyes, that's their God. That's their Christ. We're talking about Illuminati bloodlines here. You have 13 bloodlines, 13 by 13 matrix. But they put the programming in. And then you have under them the committee of 300, which are 300 people who are related to each other and related to the 13 bloodlines generationally. And they're all under mind control. So you can't get them to change their view on things. That's why you can yell all you want about Bush. He don't give a fuck. You can yell all you want about how fucked up he is. You can come out with movies and all that. He's just going to laugh and joke any damn way. And of course, we know that Obama's related to him. Colin Powell is related to him. Everyone who ran against him is related to him. And now we find out that Hillary and Bush is related to them. Hillary laid in the coffin at the Skull and Bones with Bush. New York Times Magazine, 1979. So it's all a big Illuminati bullshit game. And they're using you. All right? So here are some of the, of course, Barbie. When you hear the name Barbie, it ain't no fucking toy. It's Klaus Barbie, a Nazi. All right? We know that originally we used dolls against our enemy when they came into Africa. Now, Michael Jackson is a very interesting case. I don't know if he's cloned or what the deal is, but he's definitely under mind control. If that's him, he's under mind control. Somebody who works in the industry told me that what he did was he sold his melanin to Liz Taylor. What? It sounds funny, but that's what I was told.
So it's what?
His melanin to Liz Taylor. They can extract the melanin from your body. That's what the Atlanta child murders were all about. They can extract it from your body. The most, excuse me?
Because they're going to pin a gland out.
They won't take the pineal gland out. They can't do that because if you take the pineal gland out, then you come down with a sickness called schizophrenia. Or there's another sickness too that you will get. Because what happens in schizophrenia, you get stuck on one side of the brain because the pineal gland is the device that you need to communicate with the other side. So if they take out the pineal gland, you get schizophrenia stuck in the spirit world or stuck in the physical, whichever one you were in at the time they took it out.
You just mentioned Atlanta child murders. What was that about?
That was when they were taking out, extracting melanin from the children because what they did was they found them very pale and looked like they were 100 years old when they found the children. Kept it out of the news. So they can, we laughed at Michael Jackson, but from what I heard, Liz Taylor actually bought his melanin. Did she die yet? Or is she still alive? Still alive. Still alive. You see. When you see dolls like Chucky and Puppet Master, you must understand that they are, when you go to the store and you buy these things, they actually invoke those dolls with entities. Not only do they invoke dolls with entities, they invoke statues with entities. They actually take live fetuses and put them in statues, and then you'll see something on the news. Oh, Mary was bleeding from the eyes and crying because it has actual flesh in it, and they invoke these things. And the origin of it came from Francis Bacon, modern day times, but it's much more ancient than that. But he brought it to light, Francis Bacon, invoking entities into statues. And Francis Bacon. Yeah. And the statues are used in ritual ceremony. And what they'll do is they'll lay a pregnant female out who has generational programming in her, and they will stimulate that germ that someone left behind in her womb and create a virgin child in the womb. They will take an invoked statue, and at the time that the woman is giving birth, they will kill one baby while this was being born and invoke the entity from the statue into the child. And the origin of the term Superman came from this science that Crawley was doing at the Land's End to produce what's known as a Superman. This is what he was doing. So they have these things. They have armies of Supermen, cloned, mixed up genetics, and various types of things that they do have. The name of the army that they have is called the Earth Corps. If you've been in America after 9/11, you've seen some of the soldiers that were, we don't know what the fuck are they. When you saw them, they were like standing there like this. You couldn't talk. They were like robots. They were big and like this. They had machine guns, all in the train stations. They weren't like the they didn't have any emotions. You could see that they even had no fucking aura. These were people in New York after 9/11, standing around with machine guns, which we know the whole shit was set up. It was bullshit. So they invoke entities into these dolls. So when you go to the store to buy your child some toys or some dolls, you gotta watch it. There's a whole thing going on with China, with the toys. How many of y'all remember that? I don't know if y'all got that over here. It was a big thing with the toys coming from China. So, all right. Let's talk about a few things here. Oh, so they break up the mind, fracture the mind, and they put in these sexual programs. And you may just, all of a sudden, if you're programmed that way, if a person is sexually programmed, they use different frequencies also. They put in different frequencies. For instance, they'll put in what's known as scorpion frequency. That's a person who has to have sex, but at the same time they have a killer instinct. Which tomorrow, I'm going to show you some drawings done by a person under Monarch Programming who is under scorpion frequency, some of the drawings that they did. And we're going to break that all down. But let's go through a few things here so we can understand something. Everybody got that email? Okay. Now, supposedly, that 2,197 is the extent of the human mind, that it couldn't be fractured anymore without actually killing the person or giving the person autism. Now, I said this before, and we're going to go deep into it tomorrow. All black people are autistic. And that's a very positive thing. A very, very positive thing. But when they use mind control on people and fracture their minds, and they go past that 2,197 number, those people become autistic. And autistic people were used in mental institutions to try other mind control techniques on them. And then lately, in the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, they just released them on the street. And it becomes almost normal now. But we are autistic, and it's not necessarily dealing with mind control. It's dealing with nature. Because when a person is autistic, Usually when something happens to a person, they space out. A person who is autistic,
Let's change over again.
all right, for her to do one, and then we're going to go right into the sex magic. Right back where we were. All right, and here she is, the Jade, my queen.
Praise the motherfucking Lord. I'm going to make this real quick. I'm going to make y'all come real quick. So close. So close to fucking hell. You take my breath in your mouth, and the ache that it transmits to my thighs transports me into the altar of infinity. So close. So close to fucking hell. You lick me, and I remain suspended on a drunken mountain of emptiness. So close to fucking hell. As your tongue searches for the center of my submission, you sacrifice me for the entire universe to see. So close to fucking hell. Thank Goddess for all of you, my kings, the gods of my dreams. But there is still only one devil that makes me yell, wow! Because that motherfucker brings me so close to fucking hell.
Here are some Bible verses dealing with the generational spirits through sexuality. All right, right in your Bible. Song of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 11. Thy lips, O my spouse, drop as honeycomb, honey and milk are under thy tongue. Now what is that talking about? Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me they know what that means. Oral sex. Oral sex. Because when a person has oral sex and the man ejaculates in the mouth or in the face, on the facial area, you become imprinted with the thoughts of the person. And that's one reason why you don't want to have a female, or actually a male too these days, want to have many lovers because, and this is what they do in sex magic rituals. They'll have what they call, and back in the days we call gangbang. Many guys on one woman, and they fracture the mind because each one of them have a thought pattern that they ejaculate on the face or in the mouth. And she takes on the thought patterns of the genetics because everything you put on your skin, you should be able to eat because you absorb it like a sponge. But the men would not hearken unto him. This is Judges 19 and 25. But the men would not hearken unto him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her and abused her all the night until morning. So if you read that whole chapter, it's talking about how they sexually programmed her by many men as in the form of a gangbang. And that's how sex magic is done. Usually they'll put a woman down in a 5-pointed star and place a 6-pointed star over her. That's Israel and America. That's why America has the red, white, and blue flag. And that's why Israel has the blue and white flag with the 6-pointed star. They're married to each other. The 5-pointed star is female. In this instance, the 6-pointed star is male. All right? So it's right in your Bible. Go read it. Judges 19 and 25. And they actually quote these verses during the ritual. Anybody in here ever read the Bible? You ever saw this in the Bible? And Amram, Exodus 6 and 20. And Amram took him, Jochim, his father's sister's to wife. He took his father's sister to wife, and she bare him Aaron and Moses. That means that they kept it in the family. We're talking about Illuminati bloodlines here, generational spirits. Aaron and Moses' mother was the sister of his, the wife of his father's sister. Generational spirits used throughout your sexuality in mind control and programming. Genesis 19 and 36. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. See, they're not dealing with an emotional thing here. It's science. I mean, there's definitely mind control on me for that shit. I could not do it. But what I'm trying to say to you is, this stuff is right in the Bible, these rituals, and how they use your genetics, and how things are programmed into your genetics, and they use those genetics from ancient times. They're not looking at you for who you are now, they're looking at your genetic bloodline. In America, the people who are treated the worst are people with slavery in their ancestry, because the slaves have the genetics of not only black people from Africa, but white people, which makes us even more powerful through the race mixing, through the rapes. But there's a form of traumatization with that, because we know about the whole story of how they would pull the woman apart in the five-pointed star position. Get the comic book, I talked about it before, Young Witches. We'll break that all down for you. Samuel, 2 Samuel 1 and 26. My brother Jonathan, very pleasant, hast thou been unto me, thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of a woman. Now what the fuck could pass the love of a woman? You telling me you love this nigga more than you love a woman? That's some homo shit going on right there. Just be aware of it when you go to church. How the programming works. It's right there. And you'll read that passage, but won't be aware of what's going on, and it's going where? Right into the subconscious mind. And that's where you get the most sexual shit going on in church. Remember, I was a minister for a long time. I got a picture here. I was a minister. I went all the way to be a bishop. And I've seen these things. Most of the people there are there to get either a husband or a wife. First Samuel 18 and 27. Wherefore David arose and went, he and his men, and slew of the Philistine 200 men, and David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king. What the fuck is that all about? You mean to tell me you went to war, cut the foreskins off of how many niggas? A whole army, hundreds of men, took their dicks out. You took the dicks of dead men, cut the foreskin off, and brought them on a platter to the king. What kind of fucking ritual is that? That's in the Bible. That is 1 Samuel 18 and 27. Major rituals here. The Bible is one of the heaviest books you could find, if you know how to read it. It's got the reptilians, all that shit is in there. Revelation talks about the dragon. That's reptilian shit. And by the way, Revelation was actually the first book, because you got to have a revelation to even read into that shit. You got to wake up and even go there. All right? Going through a few Bible verses here. Now this shit, I seen, me and my queen, we go to pawn shops all the time to see what the fuck is going on. We investigate shit. And there's one not too far from us, and we saw a video in there where it had some kind of feces sexual shit going on. Where people rubbing shit all over them, having sex, eating it and all like that. By the way, I don't know if I have it here, I might have, yeah, sold out of it, but the brother might have a tape called Commercial Programs Illuminati, where a person who worked for CBS gave me a film clip of a subliminal message for Three's Company where she, in between, while it was coming on, they put in where she was eating dung. Subliminally, and you watching it on TV, you don't see it, it clicks too fast. So it's called Commercial Programs Illuminati. I'm showing the footage, all this footage of subliminal messages that were shot through your television, and it slowed down so that you could see it. It's a, no, DVD. Commercial Programs of the Illuminati. So a person who would have shit wiped all over them and eaten it, that's a person with low self-worth. They need to be punished. And they feel they need to be punished, and they're punished because you only punish yourself. Nobody punishes you, you punish yourself. And that's why you need to forgive yourself. Low self-worth. So it says here, Malachi 2 and 3, behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces. This is God talking. This is the God of the Bible. Not only is he going to corrupt your seed, so that when they grow up, they can't be saved by Jesus because God already programmed them to be corrupt. They're already programmed. Behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread shit upon your faces, even the shit of their solemn feasts, and one shall take away with it. Whatever the fuck that means. That's Shakespeare writing in poetry. That's poetry language. It's called Shakespearean language. That was a company of people that wrote the Bible or translated it into King's version of it. You know, King James also had a book on demonology that he wrote. So if you look at the writing of that book and the writing of the Bible, two different things. But if you look at the works of Shakespeare, you're going to see that, and not only that, but the names in it. And all the names of the books of the Bible are names of people who worked in those different companies that put together those sections of books. Ezekiel 4 and 10 to 17, and thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung. Thou shalt bake it with shit that cometh out of man in their sight. That means that we want you to make some cakes of shit for you to eat, but you have to watch the nigga shit it out and cook it. Praise the Lord. And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that shall come out of man in their sight. Ezekiel, you don't have to believe what I'm saying, it's right there for you. Ezekiel 4, 10 to 17. Understand that? And remember, these numbers are dealing with, there were no numbers in the Bible. And if you see italics, those are words added. They're called bolder italics. Now I just added this in because I thought it was actually funny. And it says here in 1 Samuel 25 and 22, so and more also do God unto the enemies of David, if he leave of all that pertain to him by the morning light, any that piss against the wall. I'm like, what? You mean God is sanctioning for me to go piss against the fucking wall? That's some wild shit. Ain't that wild? That's in the Bible. It's funny how we do things by nature, don't even know it. Because that's, you know, when I'm downtown, I don't have to run look for no motherfucking bathroom. I can piss right upside the wall. The Bible say it. For in very deed, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hast hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that pushes against the wall. 1 Samuel 25 and 34. Very interesting. And there's a whole bunch I could show you, but let me go back to dealing with the subject at hand. Here's a diagram, and I have many diagrams that were given to me by people who deal with this, by people who actually were programmers. This is a diagram of where they put the program, put the chips. Now, when they put an implant in you, when you go to the hospital, or even they're doing it to children now, they're putting in microscopic chips. And as I said yesterday, they'll put chips in the vaginal area, and here it says, special attention to genital area, itching, forced orgasm in these parts, and hot needles. So they put this here because this opens you up. Because everything that you see on TV and in the movies is projecting out sexuality. It's projecting out what they want you to do through your sexuality, the root chakra, the lowest level there is. They're also coming at the astral plane, so you got to watch it with that too. The New Age stuff.
How do they do that?
The New Age stuff is coming at the astral plane through frequencies. They're using gigahertz and megahertz for the crown chakra. They're using Hertzian levels, lower Hertzian levels, because your body resonates somewhere around between 52 to 42 hertz, somewhere around there. The higher you're resonating in the Hertzian level, the more healthy you are. The root chakra lowers the Hertzian level, and it makes you sick. Go lower than, say, 30, you die. So the stuff they're showing you through television, that's why TVs are not really high up. They're low by your fucking penis and vagina. They're low. And they beam shit out, because TV is dealing with the astral plane. It's dealing with the astral plane. And it's hitting that root chakra. And anything red deals with the root chakra. It opens you up sexually. And tomorrow we're going to get into combinations of colors and what that do. How many of y'all saw the Cosmic Memory when I went through the list of colors? Do I have to do that tomorrow? Have y'all seen that? To take one of the colors? Okay, well, we'll do that tomorrow also. But colors are very important and significant in sexuality. If a female wants to know if a man really loves him, and vice versa for the man, surround yourself in pink. If you surround yourself in pink, anyone who dislikes you can't even be around you. If you take a bedroom and paint it in pink, and you have a woman or a wife or girlfriend and y'all living in that room and she can't stay in there, she does not love you, because pink is dealing with unconditional love. If you are trying to communicate love to a person, to connect to him, you could surround yourself in pink, visualize a pink cord connected to that person, and put them in pink. And then send the words you want them to hear through the cord to them. And if they're open, if they have anything, any kind of thoughts towards you as far as a connectedness, they will begin to move toward you. Pink. You could use that in visualization. You can also use Egyptian techniques, but we're going to deal with that tomorrow. But
It's not today.
no, that's the workshop. The workshop. If a female is trying to find the right man, look at your own features, study yourself, and look for the reflection of yourself. If a female, if you have your bottom lip sticks out more than the top lip, you have more male energy. And so you want to get with a brother, they may have a top lip stick out more rather than a bottom lip stick out more. Because if both of your bottom lips are sticking out, you're going to have problems. That's male energy. You ever see a woman when they stick their bottom lip out? That's male energy. Understand that. If you're trying to find sisters, if you're trying to find a brother, or a brother if you're trying to find a sister on the frequency, or can be trained into the knowledge, they must have their ears have to stick out off their head in some kind of way because they're thinking outside the box. People with their ears closer to the head think more inside the box. This is the box. This is the 13 by 13 square that can be fractured like God mind. If you have a husband, or if you have a wife, and you suspect things, sorry brothers. Men, when they lie to you, men lean forward. Men lean forward, and they also add things into it'd be a story, so something may happen. And men will add more information to it that didn't really happen. They lean forward and they add information in. Female is the reflection or the mirror. They lean back and they leave shit out. All right? So this is to get you to understand how to... In Africa, what would take place was when two youngsters wanted to get married, you would have to bring them before the group of elders. There was no shame in your sexuality. If you look at some of the films or go to Africa now, they still have some openness about their breasts and about the coverings. They don't wear as many, because we're wearing a lot of clothes, and which is good now because all the fucking spraying and shit. But people of melanin are not supposed to wear a lot of clothes. You're blocking the sun from your penis area, whereas the most melanin is there in the penis and vaginal areas. So you're blocking off melanin from all parts of your body by wearing heavy clothes, or especially tight clothes. Forget it. So in Africa, what would happen is that they would bring them, if they wanted to get married, they would bring them before the elders, and they would break down every aspect of who they are, their features. They would look at how they're shaped and determine whether or not these people were made for each other. Do the astrology on their charts and the whole nine. The final stage would be before the elders, whether they would decide or not y'all should be married or should not. Okay? All right. So, yeah, they use this 13 by 13 matrix in the middle of the chest here, which equals the number 2,197 fractured elements in the mind. And they will put implants in your teeth, behind the eyes. They'll put cameras behind the eyes. They will put a implant on the pineal gland. And once they do that, every time you watch TV and they say this is a test of the emergency broadcast system. You ever heard that? Go beep, this is a test. They don't have that over here? Oh, they have it in America big time. Yeah, that's called EBS, Emergency Broadcast System. And those are activating programmed sleepers with chips on their pineal gland. It splits the brain. And the left brain, the person may be left brain today and hear that, more left brain than not, will hear that emergency broadcast system and they jump to the right brain and become a different person. Totally different person. Go into one of those altars. EBS, Emergency Broadcast System. In the event of emergency, so-and-so. You never heard that. I can't believe that over here. It's really interesting. You gotta put, I talked to Law years ago about getting you some mud cloth. Everybody know what mud cloth is? It's an heavy African cloth. Put aluminum foil on it and cover your TV up because it still emits those frequencies even if you unplug it. Especially the new plasma TVs. It's dealing with your blood system. That's why it's called plasma. It's blood. It's dealing with the blood system.
What about the computers?
Everything electronic today. Everything electronic. Computers are really bad. You deal with the organites. Somebody here needs to start making them. Dig into the science of it, study it, and start producing them. Brother Clyde is probably the man to do that. Yeah. Need to tap into this energy. Very positive. Yeah.
Actually, we bring Suza here to us, so she does book and organize.
Say it again, brother.
Suza.
Oh, Suzar, yeah. Yes, Suzar is excellent, excellent. She gives you a lot of good information in one of her books. I think it's called the Survival Manual. She gives you all the science of how to spin your chakras. And of course, y'all know that the chakras are around you like this. So to spin your chakras in the morning, you can just hold your hands out and do like you did when you was a kid, when you were closer to nature, and just turn around like that. And depending on which direction you turn, ask yourself in the morning which way to turn. Ask yourself. Because sometimes when you go to sleep at night and when you return back out of your pineal gland into your body, depending on the state you were in when you went to sleep, you can return into your body backwards or upside down. And so when you get up, you feel, I don't feel like it, like that. Because you came in with the feet up here and the head down there, or turned around, the faces back that way or something like that on the astral level. And so you begin just turn around a couple times. Ask yourself, which direction should you turn around? If you feel like you need to turn around to the right, that means you need, for that day, more spiritual energy. To the left, more physical energy. All right? When they put the implants in, again, the implants begin to build fiber optic wires connected together. So once they put them in, there's no getting them out no more. So now you have to go and start to get with techniques to get it out. Because as I said on the radio today, basically everyone born after the 70s, and I really could go further back, I would even go back to the 60s, everybody born after that has been implanted in some form or fashion. And the older the implant, the less active it really is. Every time I go to the airport or go through a detector, I run my head, I go through a couple times to make sure ain't no shit going off inside me. I'm like, you never know. If you got a little bump somewhere that wasn't there before, a mole that all of a sudden came up and you went to the doctor for some reason, you don't know where that mole come from, have it checked out. It might be an implant. Start violet flaming it. The violet flame is one of the most powerful tools that you have right inside your brain. Your brain is the most powerful tool, actually. But that crown chakra, that violet is very, very powerful. And you could use all the colors, actually, in the chakra system to detect different things. For instance, you could use yellow to detect if there's some ELF coming from a certain position or a certain area. Like, that's why Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz used the yellow brick road. That's detecting of the ELF. It took her right to the fucking Illuminati. The yellow brick road. All right? So, yeah, they put the implants in the breast. As I said yesterday, breast implants produce lupus. You know anybody with lupus? You know what the problem is. You know what to do. You know what the deal is. You need the violet flame. My queen, she just had a sandwich from Starbucks. Sick, really, really sick today. And I used the violet flame on her stomach. And the next thing I know, she said, oh, wow, I feel okay now. Wow. She threw up a couple times, of course. But she's, oh, I'm fine now. But I sat there and I was visualizing the violet in her stomach. Violet is a cleanser, it's an antiseptic. It will cleanse negative shit out of your life. I hope you're using that. It's power that you have access to. So they put implants, this is what? 1974. 1974, they had diagrams on this shit put in medical books. Now this is a very interesting picture. You'll see a hand right here. And what happened here, this is one of the person who was under mind control did this picture here, showing how they use Barbie dolls or dolls in programming them. You see them, and what happens is the man used the doll and the doll is not grounded. It's like floating. while he's in this trance state, and they're programming him. They're putting in implants. That's why you see the ground is checkerboard like grids, like those matrices I talked about. And look at the color combinations. Activate, triggers. Green is another trigger. Stop and go. But why do they use Barbie dolls? Why the fuck would they use a Barbie doll? And a sub-program of Barbie doll is a porcelain doll. Because why? If I had a Barbie doll, I could make it do any fucking thing I want. So I could program people like a Barbie doll. I can make them do what the fuck I want. Klaus Barbie. Porcelain doll, if you get, brothers, if you get with a woman and y'all having sex and she's just laying there, that's porcelain doll programming. Because porcelain dolls don't fucking move, they ain't got no emotions, they're cold as hell. That's porcelain doll programming. You'll be surprised at how many people are walking around under mind control. So protect yourself at all times. And how much time, brother?
We're fine, we're fine. Got 2 more tapes though.
2 more tapes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
2 more tapes. All right, brother. So this is porcelain doll and Barbie doll programming. This is one of the drawings from a person who gave me some serious information on mind control. In the future, you'll look out for those tapes because those are going to be very informative tapes on what you could do and what goes on in mind control and programming and sexuality. Because it's all about sex. Don't get me wrong, because I'm talking about mind control and other stuff, this is all tying into sex. Because they, as I said when we started, they use sex because that's what people want the most. You have a drive to procreate and to learn about yourself, to see the reflection, to connect to your reflection. The man is a reflection of the female, and the female is I showed the 60-40%. Your husband is your balance. Your wife is your balance. Your reflection of each other. When you look at your wife, you're looking at your feminine aspects. All right? So they're using the sexuality to tap into those mind patterns and replace your man with other thoughts like go buy this out the store. Go into the store over there and get these whatever it is you got to get. Go to the movies, hang out with they're telling you what to do using your sexuality and you think it's normal. You think that's what you're supposed to do. Since when does other things become more important than your husband or your wife or your son or your daughter? And then go cry about what the white man is doing. Let's read what it says here. If I can. This was some early artwork by Cisco to convey what her mind felt as a mind-controlled slave. What the picture shows is the hand of the puppet master, and that's we saw a picture of the Puppet Master movie. What do you think that movie was dealing with? It was dealing with control, the control of demonic entities. Puppet Master. The picture shows his hand of the puppet master controlling the puppet, his puppet. The puppet is floating and not grounded in reality, but disassociated from the external world in order to survive. All of the cities and eternal worlds are grids. Everything attaches to grids. The color programming can be seen in the green, blue, silver, gold, red, yellow colors of the grid. The puppet is totally in the hands of the puppet master, and its hands are submissive in a submissive hold, while the puppet master has his fingers covered or covertly wrapped around the left side of the puppet's head. Okay, so this is a technique they use they pin. Sometimes when they get started, they will strap a person down in a chair and pin their eyes open and flash all these particular things at them. All kinds of tortures they have. They even have technology using the Delta T antenna to go into your dreams and find out things in the future, to travel other parts of the galaxy. That's how aliens, the things you hear about aliens, they come through your dreams. It's known as hyperspace. We talked about that. If you get the tape, the brothers got it over there. All right, so they want to control society like society were drones, robots, puppets, or dolls. That's what it's all about. Monarch programming, which is sexual in nature. That's why it wasn't a clown doll, it was a fucking Barbie doll, who was a porn puppet coming out of Nazi Germany. All right? Here, now this is going to get a little bit graphic. Here is something I found in one of those shops that I told you about. A sister allowing herself, I don't know if these are, she's playing or what's going on here, but this is serious stuff here. And they're using electronic manipulation sexually. See it? And these are the techniques they use at Montauk. Probably don't have a clue of what's going on there. She just probably thinks she's doing a photo shoot for some X-rated stuff or something like that. Because they understand that females can bring things into physical reality. That's what a baby is. So if I can give her the thoughts that I want her to have at the moment, when she has an orgasm, by the way, if you want to have an orgasm or get pregnant, if a woman is trying to be impregnated and she's been having trouble with that, what you'll do is draw a red spiral on the stomach, around and around into the navel. And that will create a vortex for a spirit to come in. But we noticed here, what is he doing? I have no idea what he's doing, but one thing for sure, we know he's tapping into her sexuality. It looks like he's putting an implant in or whatever he's doing, I'm not really sure. And guess what? You can get these on I think in any porn shop, they got these things. I don't know about out here, maybe on the internet. Sexual programming. All right, let me read this here. A little bit of a lot of reading here. I wish I had somebody to read it for me.
I left my glasses.
We have meetings, we have Moorish, the white boy's trying to save himself. So now they Moors in New York. So Peter Moon has a Moorish, like a Moorish Masonic thing going on in Long Island, out in Montauk. And he, when you go there, he gives you a lot of good information on a lot of different stuff. This is one of his books that he has written called The Montauk Revisited. And he has one called The Montauk Project. He also has a book out that I would recommend that you get called Spandau Mystery, where he connects up Aleister Crowley's connection to Noble Drew Ali. They were both in Africa at the same time. What's it called, sorry? Peter Moon. They were both in Africa at the same time. Now, what made Noble Drew Ali a prophet was that he was able to go through the Great Pyramids and make his way around the Great Pyramids and come back out. Then he went to Montauk, Long Island, and went through the underground pyramids there and came back out. And so that made him a prophet. The Montauk Indians made him a prophet, and the Egyptians over there started to call him a prophet. So that's what made him so famous. It wasn't so much all the teachings and things that he was doing, because really he was not really on an esoteric level, but he was all about a certain movement to elevate. But his ownership came from going through the Great Pyramids. If you can, I don't know if they're going to provide it for you, or if you can, bring paper and pencils. Paper and pencils, color pencils, or whatever pencil you feel you need to bring, whatever colors. If you need to bring a lot of colors, bring it. If you don't feel like you need to bring a lot of colors, don't. But bring that and paper and pencil so you can learn something about yourself. Ready?
Yes, all set.
A virgin birth refers to interdimensional mating and results in what is called moon child or sex child. This is also a sterile birth, and the sterility results from the interdimensional mating. That means that's a demon child. Go back and look at Rosemary's Baby. On the physical level, a virgin or even any other woman can be impregnated and not know it and know how. This is the result of a latent male protein from the father that resides in all females but cannot be found unless it is triggered. It is, in fact, an acid that acts just like a sperm and penetrates the zona pellucida, a protective body which contains a sac. The zona pellucida is very hard to penetrate if it wasn't any old sperm or perhaps anything else, like animal sperm, could come in and be a candidate for gestation. And that's what I was talking about yesterday when the Moors, when they wanted to bring a new soul onto the planet, they would ejaculate first and get rid of the old sperm and produce the child with new sperm. No pregnancy occurs when the native or the psychic intelligence in the cell receives a message that a sperm is out there waiting to enter. If the proper biological conditions are present, the sperm is permitted access in the case of a virgin birth. The protein is activated to act like a sperm and fools the zona particular into thinking it is a sperm. You know what's funny about virgin birth? The first time we really hear that is when we go to church. So what is it saying here? When we're dealing with entities and we're dealing with demons and we're dealing with the science here, we're talking about virgin birth. And isn't that what Mary's supposed to be? She's supposed to be a virgin. It's very interesting. A child is eventually born with the gestation period usually lasting 10 months. The protein referred to above is located in the body's original cell, which are 8 in number, and located at the base of the spine. This is the root of the kundalini, and in the first physical base of life, where spirit first unite with the matter. This 8, and when we talk about entities, they enter through the root chakra to try to become physical, because they want to feel physical things. Sometimes they could be family members. Sometimes they could be people that you love and know, that have a certain attachment to you. You see? And sometimes they go into your pineal gland and may even haunt. You may go home and the spirit is sitting on your fucking couch. Come into your house every day, living in a bubble. Because they trap themselves. You could become trapped in your reality. That's why I said never stick to one particular format constantly all the time. Change it up sometime. Because your mind pattern, if you leave this physical realm with that mind pattern, you get stuck in an orb. Living out the same thing every day in your living room, coming home, sitting down, watching TV, coming to your house. That's what those little bubbles you see at graveyards called orbs. People are trapped in that. Those are thought patterns trapped. It's not the actual person, but it's his energy, his thoughts. And they collect up and attach to your auric field. And then you go to work and you kind of try to do something, and their thoughts move in and hinders what you're trying to do. All right? So understand that. The protein referred to above, these 8 cells are juxtaposed in a geometrical fashion that consists of 2 pyramids. And that sounds like a tetrahedron. For cells make up a pyramid or tetrahedron. Now, a tetrahedron could be used to time travel. You can time travel with a tetrahedron. You can go to alternate realities and dimensions, because that's what they did at Montauk. They used the delta T at time. The other four make another similar pyramid. The 2 tetrahedrons then interlock upside down to each other. If you were to take a 2-dimensional side view, the cell structure would look like the Seal of Solomon. more popularly recognized as the Star of David. The geometrical structure contains all the wisdom of the universe and can be tapped either physically or electromagnetically. We're still talking about what's inside the womb here. There's a child being made here. So what they're saying is physically or electromagnetically. This is also the exact point where Montauk boys had a decision. There was young children that were programmed as children in the 60s and the 70s who are adults now as sleepers. So you'll see you'll see in the newspaper, man go crazy at post office or in school and shoot 12, 13 people. Those are Montauk children who are programmed at Montauk to do these things and triggered later on through a television show, through a word, through whatever. If you feel as though you're around a sleeper or someone that's about to be triggered, like the brother took me to the radio station, he said the guy who runs the radio station was shot. He was shot. That's a sleeper. Why would you do that? That's a sleeper. And he has a very powerful radio station because we can't do no shit like that in New York. They will shut you down the first fucking day. Gone. So if you're doing the work, protect yourself constantly. Whenever you see something that don't feel right or look right with you, put the violet all around you. Walk around in a violet bubble. If you have to, visualize a fucking violet gun. Do something. Do something. All right. The Montauk boys have had incisions for abductions purposes, tetrahedron, and is taking the latent protein within the center of the tetrahedron and is awakening the Kundalini. And we talked about premature Kundalini activation. With the zone in particular, a magical child is then created. And we know that you can go right down to your bookstore and see a book called Magical Child with Aleister Crowley's name on it. All right? And so what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to stop for a minute because my mouth is getting dry and I'm a little bit tired, and take questions from the audience on any subject: sexuality, mind control, and programming. Hit the lights, please. Any questions, anybody? Yeah.
Where do these entities come from? These entities, these demons.
They're generational spirits.
Okay, and
they're earth energies. Earth has its own energy, mixed with human genetics. They put you in the earth when you die. Your genetics mix with the earth. You create a morphogenetic grid.
I don't like earthbound spirits. I don't like what you call earthbound spirits.
It's earthbound energy. When I say spirit, when I say ghost, when I say God, I'm talking energy. That's what I'm talking about. You produce a certain energy there.
So no, at least
that's why a pyramid, if you see, not all pyramids have sarcophagus in it, but the Egyptians, they were buried a certain way, and they always had something to project the energy up. Does that answer your question?
Okay, no, not entirely. But you said that, and it could also be, did you say generational?
Yeah.
So that front to ancestral?
No, ancestral spirits are the spirits in your genetics. It's actually you. Generational spirits are the spirit of the energy that you released in the form of adrenochrome and other chemicals into the body that feed the plants, that make the trees and plants grow up. Those are generational. A tree is a generational spirit. That's why it bleeds amber. And you use amber to tap into ancient DNA. It brings back your memory of times before you were even born. That's what amber does. And that's why they don't want you going to California to the redwood forest, because it opens up ancient DNA. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned to you earlier, I was wondering, you spoke about like ultra low frequencies. Is that any connection to the HARP program?
Yes, HARP, not really connected to HARP because now they have, almost every country has a HARP type. HARP is a 144 antennas in Alaska that they use to penetrate the ozone layers. And when they do that, actually what they're saying, they're doing damage to it. But what they're really doing it for is to create a frequency fence, which was finished in 1995. And the frequency fence stopped tachyon, which is cosmic thought, from coming onto the planet and awakening, because they knew the whole science of what's happening with you. There's some heavy stuff going on with you, heavy powers. When you look at Obama, we could break down the Illuminati side of it and the mind control side of it, but it's still the rise of a black man. He's still being used to energize black people to a certain level of pride about themselves. So that's happening all over the world. So there's a certain elevation that they're trying to stop, and they cannot stop it. It's inevitable. It must happen. And so the HARP is one of the things that were built a long time ago. I think maybe it started building in the 40s to put up what's known as a frequency fence to stop cosmic rays from coming in with this whole Nibiru shit and all like that going on. Yeah.
If you haven't spoken already about methods of
clean the aura. Use violet is the best way to do it. And as I said before, you take a violet light bulb and you put it in your bathroom when you want to take a shower. You turn off the regular light like this here and put the violet light on, and that'll clean your aura off.
What does a red light bulb do?
A red light bulb will help you to see entities in your house. It's like an infrared, like this light right here.
Yeah.
It's infrared. If you put a red light bulb in your house and you have demons or entities in your house, you'll be able to see them. Yeah.
The red light bulb, we're told that signifies that there's like prostitutes, things like that. Where does that come from?
Which one?
You know like the red light district. Over here we have that red light district.
Oh, well, because what did we just say? Red is the root chakra opens up your sexuality. And there are women that are actually programmed to be hookers. They're programmed to be hookers. Everything has some form of mind control. A lot of us in here have, most of us, or not, I don't like to say most, all of us have a form of programming. Because your mind is built that way. That's why you only have 2 eyes instead of 3. If you were not programmed, you would have 3 eyes or 4, many eyes as you fucking want. And that's what the whole science of the Tibetan monks and the yogis were trying to do, is to break the mind control of the God mind control to be able to do those things and walk through walls and all this kind of stuff. So we're programmed to a certain degree, but it's the way you're programmed is so that you can live out your reality and gain the information that you need to gain in physical reality, because physical reality is a hologram.
You mentioned something on the radio. I'm not sure it was this morning. You talked about some things that some of our women do unconsciously.
What you say, brother?
You're talking about some things that some of our women do unconsciously that tend to put the men off.
Well, no, it's not just women. In America, women it's almost 10 to 1. So a lot of them are walking around a little bit angry and upset. And I challenge the men to have compassion and understand. Understand that it's 10 to 1 out there and all the men are in jail or locked down in some kind of way. So you got to have compassion for people, and especially people that are of the same ethnicity or the same species mind pattern, because it has an effect on you. It has an effect on you. You can't kill all the dinosaurs and leave one alive and think he's going to make it. Right? It's a species thing. Yeah.
Orgies. Could you elaborate on
Orgies can be good if all the people are aware of what they're doing and have the mind pattern to do that. Because a lot of times it's hard for either men to see their wife have sex with another man and vice versa. So it could be very traumatic. The idea might be good for most people, but in the long run, after it's all over, and the people, some of the people that may have those thoughts may have a whole different thought after it's all over. But the Moors, what they did was they would have group weddings. I think I mentioned that on the Sex Magic. The group weddings mean that they all were couples that got married at the same time to each other. And that's where you get the whole thing of wife swapping. But if you have people of like minds, and then usually these orgies took place in ancient Native America, in Mexico, and all over the world where you really found indigenous people, but it was for a particular reason. There may have been a drought. They may not have any food. Something may have been going on. They did go see the movie Matrix when Morpheus say, okay, everybody get down, party. It was in actuality, they couldn't show it in the movie, but it was in actuality a gigantic orgy to defeat the robots. So yes, it's valid, but people have to be on a much, much higher level unless they're programmed to do so by the Illuminati to project out a certain thought. The energy will be extremely powerful though. Very, very powerful, and that's why it's so put down by society. They don't want you doing that shit because that shit will produce some powerful stuff for you on this face of this earth. But it's a very, very powerful energy. Yeah.
In relation to sex magic, what is Kama Sutra?
Basically, all of it is good. It's just the thing that I would say is that make sure you have an orgasmic release at the end of it. There are so many different techniques and different formats that different people put out in different books, from the Yogi Masters to Montauk Chia to so on and so on. There are various writers and various techniques. But the main thing I would say is to make sure you have the orgasmic release at the end, because what you're doing is you're pulling all these energies and you're building it and you're building it. Yes, it's powerful, you feel good, but it needs to be released. Otherwise, it gets stagnant and stores up and can actually hurt you, because you're not like other people.
So is it a myth that they say that there's a lot of master teachers that they ejaculate because, like Jesus, for instance, never had sex or whatever else?
No, you could live your life. You gotta understand something. No, you could live your life alone. The masters were baiters. You see, a lot of them. You see, one thing is for sure. See this word right here? Not everyone needs a partner. Not everyone needs a reflection. Not everyone needs to have a mirror of themselves on the outside. So the supreme energy, which we call God, is alone. And that's what we're working on to becoming. All right? All one. So there's nothing wrong with being by yourself either.
So did you say that ejaculation is very important?
I think it is. I think it is very important. Very, very important, yes. Not just ejaculation, but orgasm. Orgasm is very, because if a person, especially a female, I think, does not have an orgasm, they tend to build up that tension and need that orgasmic release. And the same is true for a man, actually. Because when you don't have an orgasm, the symbology of that is not releasing new ideas. Because because the orgasm and the sperm represents a new creation into physical reality. And by not doing that, you're saying, I don't want to put out no new ideas. I'm going to have an abortion if I get pregnant and all these kind of things. Stopping new ideas. Let the sister go first, brother, then we'll get you next.
A lot of the times, men have more than one woman, and a lot of the times females get angry or they'll go and take revenge or whatever. How would you say, what's the best way for women to deal with that emotion and to not bring that emotion across to other people?
Right, it's very hard today, but what I would recommend is that repeat that, sister.
A lot of the time when men have more than one woman, she'll get emotional and try and take revenge, go and sleep with loads of other men, or go and beat up the girl or something like that.
Yeah, and that's because women feel that they're losing their protection. They're losing the one that's going to take care of them and be with them. And for men, it's the opposite. Men are more territorial. They don't want nobody fucking with their woman because they're territorial. And they're not as grounded as women. Women are more grounded to the earth plane. That's why she has the baby. Because she becomes grounded. She can't do nothing now. You've got a baby. And that's why a lot of women are reluctant to have babies, because they become grounded and can't make that movement. Whereas the man feels as though in his nature to have as many children and go around as far as he can, be as free as he want to be, because man is right brain, is spatial. All right, so the thinking is totally different. And so you need to balance that out. So you balance it out by relearning or reactivating the information within you about how to meet the right man, how to come across and deal with the right person for you. As we talked about the face, study the facial features. You know what the cheekbones represent. A person with high cheekbones means a very deep vagina. So you could get books on this stuff. You could get books on this stuff. Right, and a person with watery, large eyes and watery, kind of on a watery, glassy thing is very sexually strong, very strong sexually. So if you're not, then, you know, you don't want to get with a woman that's overpowering or overbearing with you. So I mean, all the science is in you. Just study yourself, study nature. That's what all you have to do. You don't have to really, well, you're going to need books to trigger that information, but just by looking at what's around you, studying it, be observant. Yeah.
So what would high cheekbones be for a male?
A high cheekbones for a male might mean the same thing. Might mean the same thing. Yeah. For a male, though, for a female who wants a guy with a large penis, he would have to have big or large lips. Very big lips represents a large penis. Now, this is not 100% sure, but it's 98%. 98%, yeah.
When you have an energy and you want to willfully exchange energies or tap into certain energies, for instance, for different powers or just exchange powers if you already know the powers, how do you willfully engage or swap or enhance each other?
Right, it's definitely a very powerful energy. And there are different types of orgies. There are all male orgies. There are all female orgies. There's mixed orgies. The Greeks would actually, the females would come together, and when they came together in an orgy, they would become more receptive and stronger sexually. And the males, the Greeks did this, they would have mud wrestling. And the female would get very sexually strengthened just by doing the mud, wrestling another woman. She would get sexually stimulated because of the touching, the feeling, the breasts, and all these kind of things. And by the way, a woman with large breasts is a woman, men, if you want a nurturing woman, you get a woman with large breasts. They're very nurturing people. But when you're in the mud wrestling, the females will become very, very stimulated. The females will become very, very stimulated. And then after that, the men would have sex with them, and they become very, very strong sexually after the mud wrestling. So I mean, there are various types of orgies and various types of sexuality. They had all male orgies. What would happen is the Greeks would have these male orgies, and the men would become stronger sexually when they left that alone with the woman. You see, so this is a science that they practice. If you get any of those books done, the hardcover books on art, Western art in Rome and in Greek, they'll show a lot of this stuff. It looks weird and strange, you don't know what it is, but there was a science behind it, what we're doing. We didn't really have to do that, but that aspect of it, the homosexual act of it, was more of the Greeks, the white Greeks that came later. The original Greeks were black. So we're talking about the white, when you go watch Caligula, go re-look at Caligula. All the science is in Caligula. Yeah.
What about energies or entities passed on from sex?
Yes. They are, entities are always, if you don't monitor your thoughts during sex, they're always waiting around to incarnate into a physical body. Always. So, yeah, you could have sex with your wife or your woman or whatever, and she gets pregnant, and based on the thoughts you have, and that's why I said monitor your thought, based on and having sex in front of the TV and all kind of shit, you don't know, you projecting in, you're giving access to those demonic entities. You're giving them access. Focus. Think about money or some shit or whatever. Focus on something positive for you. I can testify it works. It works. Sex magic works. I wouldn't be able to stand before you and tell you about it unless I've gone through the process of it and researched it myself.
What about the types of music you listen to?
Music, I showed yesterday the sister that was triggered to have an epileptic fit based on the music of the CD. So leave the CDs alone. Go see the movie Josie and the Pussycats. We'll break down the CDs for you and how they're putting in the subliminal messages. Because the message, what it does is when you hear it, it produces a thought in your mind that attracts a demon. The thoughts attract whatever you want to you. And then the demon comes in and produces through the child or whatever.
So you wouldn't advise to listen to music while having sex?
I wouldn't, not the CD. Get you some old scratched up albums.
Vinyl.
Yeah, or transfer it over or do something with it. Get you some organs, you know, do something, but don't go directly from a CD. I mean, it sounds nice. They'll put Barry White, they'll re-release all that stuff. R. Kelly and all like that. I mean, R. Kelly, look at the whole shit he's going through with sexuality. He's a child molester. That was just, they showed you the oldest one. They didn't show you the young ones on the videotape. See, so you want to make sure you control, if you have a thought that you can't control, put a big brown X through it. It'll stop the thought from happening. If you have a negative thought about somebody or something, it just pops into your head, so what the fuck was that? It's not necessarily your thought, but they're attached to you. You might walk past no good motherfucker on the street, some white boy on the street or something like that, that something jumped off to him and jumped right on you. And you put and the thought will come in. That's how you know it's there. And you put a brown X through that thought. Any more questions? More now. Yeah.
How do you monitor human frequency?
Say it again?
How do you monitor human frequency?
How do you monitor them?
Yeah.
They have something called an electroencephalogram, where they can monitor the brain, which, any of you ever took a polygraph test? Yeah, polygraph test where they tell you telling a lie or truth. That's the one of the forms of the Montauk chair, because it reads your thoughts. Yeah, they're connected to your pulse. It reads your thoughts. But the electroencephalogram is something they can hook up to tell whether you're dead or alive, the frequency of a dream, the frequency of how you think, and so on and so on. Call it EEG.
So what the CD thing? What's about the CDs?
CDs have subliminal messages in them. I recommend, I mean, you guys are on the by me just telling you this, it already you begin to block the mind control. Just by your knowledge of it, your awareness. You're activating that crown chakra to block it, which is violet.
What was he saying this morning about Frankenstein?
Oh, Frankenstein. Yeah, we were talking about the Moors, which I didn't get to finish that yesterday. With the history of the Moors, is when the Garamantes walked from North Africa into Europe and finally landed in Germany. But they landed also in England and all over the Europe, because as we know, Europe is Europa, the more known than Europa. So they were all over Europe, and what happened was the Germans moved into France, where there were also Jews, because Jews are really what? Germans, right? The Garamantes were teaching them at that particular time. That's the whole story of the white man in the cave. You never see a black man in the cave. I don't care, all throughout the cartoons and the movies, it was always a white man in the cave, never a black man. to educate them. The mixing of the French, the Jews, and the Germans became known as a Frankenstein. They were known as, because that's what people of mixed race are looked at as. And they're actually used, as we talked about yesterday, to send out scalar waves. And that's why Frankenstein is electronic, really. He's awakened through electricity. They raise him up and all like that. He's a mix between the Frank family in France and the German family and some Jews. And the Moors have a little mix in there also. So it was dealing with genetic experimentation. So Mary Shelley, later on, based on the golem, it was called the golem at the time, the golem became the actual symbol of protection for the Jews, which later Mary Shelley, who was Illuminati, came out with this story or this novel known as Frankenstein, talking about the golem, talking about the Garamantes coming into Africa and so on and so on. You could get, as a matter of fact, if you go online and just type in Mary Shelley and start to do the research, going back and back and back, it'll start to break down the story for you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, what is the ultimate goal of these demons? And what is their pursuit? What's their aim?
The main control is control, really. To control.
Where did they come from and what is their purpose?
Demons?
Yeah.
Well, demons are produced by negative thoughts in this physical realm. There are demons that could come from other realms and other dimensions, because you function from other. Tomorrow we'll talk about the dimensions that are in your head, in your brain, dealing with the left and right brain. But they come from different dimensions. When you go to sleep at night in your dreams are symbolic of things that really exist in another dimension, in hyperspace. So when you go to dream, just think about all the things you dream about. Things come through your pineal gland through your dreams. And that is when you go to bed at night and you got your TV on and you got some electronic shit on. They can actually induce the sleep and use your pineal gland to bring entities through. So this universe there's no beginning and no end. So for me to tell you that there was where did it come from? It's an eternal thing. It's eternity. They're all over the place, different dimensions and different realities. If you get the book of, get the pseudepigraphers. The pseudepigraphers break down how different angels and demons work together to build the human body.
Can you spell that?
I don't even know how to spell that. Pseudepigrapher. Yeah.
Doesn't the word demon mean your true self?
Say it again?
Doesn't the word demon mean your true self?
The demiurge, yes. Subconscious mind. Anybody else?
Suppose you don't have no dreams.
Everyone dreams. You will die if you don't dream. Why? Because you don't remember it. You will die if you don't dream, because all the information you took in during your daily walk of life, it stores up in your brain. Your brain got to get rid of it. That's why you get sleepy, because it's too much weight, gravity. So it has to go down into the subconscious mind. You can't store it up here. You can't stay awake more than a week. You'll go crazy, out of balance. So you have to get rid of that. You have to store that information. And when you store that information, it is your subconscious mind that interprets it. Your conscious mind interprets the awakened state. Your subconscious mind interprets the dream state. Anybody else?
When you say subconscious mind, very fancy of RNA and DNA.
No. I'm talking about the brain. We break it down into sections so that we understand what we're talking about. You have an unconscious mind, you have a subconscious mind, a conscious mind, and a superconscious mind. The unconscious mind is too chaotic. The Illuminati doesn't even use that to program, because there's too much shit going on down there, and it's dealing with the collective consciousness. The subconscious mind is dealing with your personal reality that you lived out your day, you sunk that information down, and you need to interpret it. You didn't pay attention to it, so the subconscious mind said, you didn't pay attention to what went on, so here's this dream, break this down. The conscious mind just takes what physical reality is out here, what's logical that it sees, and deals with it like you got a job every day and do the work on the job every day. The superconscious mind is the right brain and it's very spatial. It deals with stuff on the astral plane. When I tell you to visualize, you're dealing with the superconscious mind. Brother right there. Yeah, that's right.
The underworld, the subconscious one?
Yes. Yes. Sister.
What happens to the mind? Where does the mind go when you're in a coma?
When you what?
In a coma.
In a coma.
Where does the mind go?
It goes like in a type of limbo. What a coma is that a person in a coma is stuck in one of those orbs that we talked about. And the reason why they're stuck is because they're afraid to die, but they're afraid to live. So they're stuck. They're stuck, right.
Is that what they mean when they say people trapped between realms?
Right. You become trapped, and it's, when I say trapped, they become trapped. Either, go see the movie, what's that movie where Malcolm X kills George Bush? Huh? No. There's a movie where Malcolm X kills George Bush. Sublime. Go get the movie Sublime. A white man goes to the hospital to get a checkup or whatever, and he goes into a coma. And when he goes into the coma, Malcolm X is there. And they break down the science for you. Malcolm X is there, and he's torturing him, killing him. Later, after the movie is over, they tell you that man was George Bush, and the guy that was killing him was Malcolm X. And he comes out, it's Lawrence, what's the guys that played?
Lawrence Hilton Jacobs?
Lawrence Hilton Jacobs playing Malcolm X in the movie. It's called Sublime. But they become trapped in a dimension where they're punishing themselves because they are afraid to move forward, yet they're afraid to die and they're afraid to live. And they're actually punishing themselves based on that. And the punishment is in the form of this movie is Malcolm X cutting them up and shit, you know.
He's sitting on top of him.
Yeah, you got to see that. I wish I had brought some copies with me. Yes.
So does that mean also that you're in a state of different consciousness when you don't remember them? I mean, you do remember, like I said, it's in another compartment of your brain, but it just simply means you don't recall, or rather you haven't, you don't want to, or you don't probably know how to get into that part of the brain to pull it out.
Right. We dismiss it because we've been trained to. We were trained to dismiss it because a lot of people are programmed not to remember their dreams for a specific reason. But since you were a child, it became fictitious, and you know. So you retain the information, but it's hard for you to get it back up into the conscious mind. It's still in the subconscious mind because you're awake now, and when you're awake, you interpret the wakened state. The conscious mind interprets the wakened state. So you can't remember the dream as much because the subconscious mind interprets the dream state. Yes, you can. Yes. As soon as you wake up in the morning, you start to write it down because as soon as you wake up, as soon as you open your eyes, it starts to disappear. Yeah.
What would you kind of like to say like when people say you have deja vu, when you get something like happens?
Yes, that happens to a lot of people lately. Lately, a lot of people have been telling me about deja vu. One thing about that is, I feel as though they're doing some kind of time travel, and it's been happening to us a lot. Me and my queen one day were sitting down and we saw a UFO in the newspaper, and we turned our head back, it was gone. And so every time you feel deja vu, go back to the movie Matrix. Yeah, go back to the movie Matrix. I'm going to take one more question, and then I'm going to shut it down from there.
What about reoccurring dreams?
Reoccurring dreams means that you didn't take care of the situation of the first dream. Because your dream is just telling you that what you need to do, what you need to take care of in your physical state. When you wake up, you need to take care of this problem. This is the symbology, and you didn't take care of it, so it keeps reoccurring, and finally it'll become a nightmare. One more. Yes, brother.
Could you elaborate on when you said that how black Americans became more powerful due to mixing that went on during slavery?
Right. Because there's a book called God Will the Negro, and it shows that people in America are descendants of the Nubians that were in Egypt. Then, based on slavery, a lot of the rapes that took place in slavery we took on the genetics of the white race. So we have not only black in us, but we also have the white man in us also.
Does that apply to British as well?
Yes, because there was slavery here too. Yeah, sure. I think it started here, actually.
Spain. Spain.
Spain. All right? So we're going to close it right now. Try to make sure you come out tomorrow. We're going to deal with dreams.